my style.
Okay, so just for those, I just started the recording. Ben just told me, hit record right now. He's got something to say. So let's start with what you're going to say.
Yeah. So let's just start there. I want to set this up, and then Amir, I'm going to let you just lead in with whatever you do. But all of this is inside of what I'm sharing. So
okay.
The kind of style that I have is a bit tangential. It's a bit inspired. It's a bit wild. It's a bit, it can feel all over the place. And I'll take little things that show up and I'll move with them. I've been teaching for many years, so it might feel that way, but it's very, very intentional. I was a professor for a long time. I've taught thousands of students, and I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of authors. So if there's a point where it feels that way, just bear with me. There's a lesson inside that. And if anybody has questions about pedagogy and teaching style, I'm more than happy to answer those in an email at another time. It's a personal preoccupation of mine. But anyways, I just wanted to frame that. So if it feels a bit like it veers all over the place, I promise that it's inside the context of intention.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, man. Yeah. And all right. Before we begin, I want to say for those that don't know who Ben is, I was just recently introduced to him, and I'm very particular with the people I bring to my groups. You guys know that. I don't do someone wants to say something, just bring them on. I'm very particular. A lot of people have asked me to get into my groups. And this one really is special to me for several reasons. For those that don't know, I've written several books. Here's a few of them, right? I have From Restaurant Marketing to the Principles book, From Lessons to My Coach. And real quick, before we get to Ben, one of my books just flowed. It just happened, and I didn't know what it was, and it just kicked in, and I was inspired by the hand of God kind of feeling. And the other one, I just had to tear my hair literally, and it was this restaurant marketing book, which I've been in the restaurant business for 20 years. You would think I just have to write what I've done, and it was the most difficult thing. And when I got to talking to Ben, we discussed like why certain things work and certain things don't work, and I went, that's why. Like when I wrote Lessons for My Coach, right, the things that we're going to discuss today, he's going to explain to you why that. If you're on unmute, can you just mute yourself? There's a few people that are muting and unmuting, so mute yourself if you can. So when I got into discussion with Ben, I didn't actually know there's a system in a way to bring out that inspiration and creativity. I didn't know that there's actually a system. I could have loved to have used Ben many years ago. So Ben, thanks for screwing up my writing process a long time ago. But there is a process, and he's figured it out. And one of the things we're going to discuss is, one of the reasons Lessons for My Coach was really valuable for the way that I wrote it, and for the people that read it, it was what was considered a MicroBook. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And we're going to discuss that. So before we do, though, Ben, who are you? Why are people listening to you? What are you doing on this call? So let's talk about that first.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, if you're okay with it, I'd like to say a little bit about who you guys are to me, and then I'll say who I am to you. Does that work?
I love that.
Okay. So who you guys are to me, first of all, well, really quickly, as I said, I was a writing professor for many years. I have a couple graduate degrees focused on literature and writing. I went to some awesome universities, and I went to some... and I went through that anyways for years, but I ended up coming out of it because I wanted to have a bigger impact. And so I've been working with authors now for a long time. And I'll go into more detail about that in a second, but who you guys are to me, which is even more important. So the world's next great books are out there. I'm somebody that's life has been profoundly affected by books and the teachings in those books. And I imagine that if anybody's on this call, you're most likely in the same boat. You've had some incredible impact from a book, and you want to kind of recreate that in part for some other people. What we also know is that books change the world, not just individuals' lives, but they can make massive, massive rippling effects. And we see that all over the place. The most obvious examples are religious documents, but even nonfiction books, which is mostly what we're going to be talking about today, have the impact to change the world. Those amazing books are out there right now, and some of them might be in you guys. So throughout this entire call, the way that I'm going to engage you is that way, that in you are these books that can alter the world, the arc of history, or at least impact somebody's life profoundly, or at the very least, fulfill a life mission for you. All right, does that make sense? The other piece about that as a writing professor is that I've learned there's no such thing as good or bad writing. So you don't need to be a Nobel Prize winning author or novelist in order to write impactful prose. And we're going to talk about what makes impactful prose shortly. But anyways, that's who you guys are for me. So whatever skill deficit you think you might have, you can forget about it because I've worked with tons and tons and tons of authors. Yeah, anyways, that's where I'll start. And now about me, I guess a bit more about me. Amir, you want to hear? So I was a professor for a long time. I have a couple of graduate degrees. I also, my background in particular was avant-garde poetry. So I was a real weird, fringy stuff that like nobody read. But I taught all kinds of things. And then I circled around, like I said, to this publishing thing. And while I was teaching at universities, I began taking on clients. People just kept asking me because I was in the personal development world, and people kept asking me for help with their books. And eventually I realized I could make it a business. And then quickly after that, I said, I don't want to just be a writing consultant and coach. I want to build a publishing house that's going to change the world. Okay, that's me, my friend.
Cool. Can I start with the first question?
Yep. Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, man.
I've got a structure, so however you want to do it. Yeah.
You have a structure, you said?
I do, but I'm so happy to just sit here and take questions and chat with you guys and whatever you want.
Yeah, so we can get to the structure. If you want to go to the structure, we can go right to the structure, because if you have an idea, because my first question that came in, I think you're going to answer it, is I'm one of those people that when I get really pumped, I have probably thousands of books that I've only read about 4 of the chapters or 3 chapters. And I don't know if that's just an issue that I have, that I get excited and pumped, and then I don't read it and I go to the next thing. But I've realized that might be a benefit for us as writers and writing books. So I wanted you to kind of explain that, and if that's something I thought is special to me, but you actually mentioned just from people that research the way people read on Amazon and on Kindle, that's a very common thing.
Yeah, good. Okay, so yeah, part of the goal that Amir and I had for this was to kind of talk about this new genre, a genre that Amir just sort of figured out on his own, right? It's just great. But so having been in the publishing world for a while, I see that there's these different styles of books and there's these different trends that happen. So currently, here's a little bit of the argument for Amir. You mind 5 or 10 minutes here of a little kind of rant?
Dude, it's your platform,
okay.
Dude. Go.
All right. So, okay, I'm just skimming down through my notes here. So, So I have this idea about these things called MicroBooks, right? It's a form that does already exist, as Amir has tapped into. Stephen Pressfield, for anybody that knows him, the War of Art series, he writes these little tiny microbooks that have sold wildly. Who Moved My Cheese is one of these books. I mean, there's just tons and tons of these very short, the 1 Minute Manager. Some of these are parables, so that's not the only style, but there's these very impactful short books. And currently in the marketplace, it makes a lot of sense. The reason is that, so here's a bit of the argument. 80% of readers only read the first 20 pages of a book. So wrap your head around that. An author will spend 2 to 10 years and tens of thousands of dollars possibly working on and writing a book. And then what happens is that somebody reads only the first 20 pages. It's not because people don't want the book. There was something like 650 million books sold last year. So people are buying them. They're just not fully reading them, which obviously says that if you're building a product, right, from an engineering standpoint, if you're building a product that's a book, listen to what the market wants. So they don't want to read the whole book. Now, what do they want? If you look at, is anybody familiar with all the book summary services out there? Yeah, so there are these services that have literally been raising tens of millions of dollars to produce book summaries. Now, what's that say? That says that the market wants the powerful ideas of a book in a small space. So as a publisher and as a guy that works with authors, I want to be strategic with them. If they're going to spend 2 to 10 years on a book that they don't even test, and then people are only going to want the soundbite of it, maybe what we can do is create really awesome short books that are very, very, very impactful. Couple things about that. So these books can still be perennial sellers. James Allen's As a Man Thinketh is another example. From 1903, that book has been selling like crazy ever since. These books can be bestsellers and perennial sellers. I have clients that have written books like this and have helped them build their businesses or have dramatic impact. And then from a strategic standpoint, where I look as somebody working with authors is and especially with my background in avant-garde poetics, the question is never about some formal constraint. You do not need 75,000 words. That's an arbitrary number that somebody decided people would pay a certain amount of money for. The question to ask, and by the way, Amir, this is a bit of what we want to share about, is the way to get to really quote unquote good writing is to ask the question of how does this impact my readers? Can I deliver on an impactful and powerful promise to them? And can I do it in a short space? To me, that's a much better question than, oh, I need to write 75,000 words because everybody else is doing it. So how do I do it? Does that make sense to you guys? I can see some of your screens here. I love nodding. I'm used to, when I was in the classroom, I could get a vibe of the room. It's different. I'm trying to get used to Zoom here. Thumbs up. Thank you, Dan. All right. Awesome. Another one from Azul. Thank you, guys. Penny, thanks. Okay. So that's a little bit of the context for MicroBook. And think about yourself, your own buying habits. If I could get a book that I could read in under an hour and it could dramatically change my life, would I pay for that book? I think without question. I don't need to read 75,000 words. In fact, how many of you had the experience of reading a really long book and being like, I wish that guy said that whole thing in like a third of that. And in fact, they could have said that whole thing in a third of that book. So anyways, that's a bit of the context for the MicroBooks. Minor, it looks like we're hitting a nerve with you over there. You're chuckling a bit. It's good. I love the thumbs up. All right, guys. So Amir, that's a little bit of that. So I have more structure, but I want to make this a bit interactive too. I'm totally flexible. I have some things that I want to leave you all with before the end of the call, and we'll work through that in whatever structure makes the most sense. Ben, so how does that work?
I'm loving this, and you have this flow that I've not heard in a long time. And like I normally do the interviewing, so just kind of spice it up a bit. But I can listen to you. Are you guys cool with that? If I shut up for once, you guys are good?
Okay, great.
Hey, how disrespectful. I hate you guys. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Yeah. Why don't we do this? I mean, I'll just talk for a little while longer. We'll do some exercises and we'll open up to Q&A.
Perfect.
And we'll we'll riff.
Yep.
By the way, I have a commitment with all the people that I teach and in the context I teach that you got to move. Every 20 minutes or so, you have to move. All the science says, so a lot of what I do brings in contemporary science. But you have to move. So every 20 minutes, if anybody can just remind me, Amir, you can poke me. I've got a little timer here to keep myself reminded, but we'll just move. And we also want to celebrate, by the way, but I'll get to that later. All right, so that's a bit about the argument for MicroBooks. And that's about the readers, right? That's the benefit to the readers. They want short stuff impactfully, give it to them. The other thing is that the market shifts so fast. If it's taking you 10 years to write a book, you're missing... you're starting with an idea from 10 years ago and you're taking 10 years to get there. That book might be obsolete by the time it hits the shelves. So that's the reason why that's the argument for MicroBook from the market. Now, from the author's standpoint, here's why I like these things. I had people write these things in like under 2 weeks. The next MicroBook course I'm teaching, I think people can write these in a weekend. Or at least a draft. You might have to edit it and et cetera. There's other things, but you can get a draft done in 2 weeks. Now that's awesome for authors because many authors see the gap between where they are and a finished book and it looks impossible. Bear with me for a second. We're going to veer for a moment. This whole lecture that I'm giving or talk or interaction is based inside of something called the motivation equation, which is the social sciences way of interpreting motivation. What makes strong motivation is a high expectancy that you can do something, a high amount of value in the thing you're doing, little delay, as in you get the result quick, and low impulsivity. High expectancy that you'll produce, that you can do it. High value, that the thing's got a big value to you in the world. Low impulsivity, meaning you can stay the course. And low delay in the value. Does that make sense to you guys? So MicroBooks are a sort of scientific way of helping authors complete a project because it's a micro win. All the science says micro wins will get you to the end goal. Like cleaning your garage, somebody says. Sure, yeah, move one box at a time. If you're like, I got to clean the whole thing, it's overwhelming. But you go move one box at a time, you can do that. We'll get more into that in a second. So MicroBooks you can do in under 2 weeks. That's awesome. That's fun and that's short. That's powerful. It's great. You can write hundreds of these things. The other thing from an author perspective is they test the market. Is anybody familiar with entrepreneurship and the term MVP or rapid prototyping or lean startup? Yeah, basically it means you don't spend 10 years building a product you haven't tested. You get a minimum viable product. The simplest product you can produce, you get it to market, and then you test the experience of it. MicroBooks can do that for bigger ideas, or they can do that for a series, or they can do that with a certain way of testing them with readers. You can still sell them for a good amount of money. I think MicroBooks can sell for 10, 20 bucks, depending on how good they are. You can write tons of them. You can develop an idea. You can develop an idea across a series of them. Very low costs if you're self-publishing. You can still build your brand, etc. Does that make sense? So that's the author angle. That's why I think these are very powerful for authors. And they can still build huge businesses. Stephen Pressfield's books have sold insane. The One Minute Manager kicked off Blanchard there. Guy had a massive business. All right. Let me pause. Amir, how are we doing?
Loving it. So far, so good. And also the Stephen Pressfield's, I think, mentee is the guy that did all the Stoic books. I forgot his name.
Are you talking about Ryan Holiday?
Yeah, Ryan Holiday. All of his books seem very like you can open it up somewhere. And I felt like that's the direction we're going anyway. It's not like this is something you should do just because you're a first-time author or you're new to this. Right. This is like seasoned authors. These are people that have been around this business for a long time. So I don't want people in my, because I just felt the same when I wrote my book. Like, oh, I wonder if people are going to think this is like a little kiddie book. And the responses I've been getting is like each chapter, each little 2-3-page chapters are impactful. I'd have to put the book down for a day or two so I can digest it. I went, well, maybe there's something to this little like micro idea. Exactly. So just wanted to put that in.
Yeah. And Amir, will you share actually a bit about the results of that micro book that you've written? Tell us a little bit about the impact that's had for you and your readers. If you have anything that you'd like to share, it'd be great to hear.
The biggest impact with doing a micro book is I can put my heart and soul into something. Like if I, like, instead of like going, oh, I got to write a book, it was like, I can put the most amazing chapter and just work on that today. And the next day I can make the next amazing chapter, and it chunked it down. It's funny you said there's science behind it. I didn't know that. I just knew my only job for that day was to make that particular subject or topic like the last thing I'm ever going to write. And then once I'm done with that, do it again. And it turned out that feeling was transcribed in my book, and my authors actually could feel that feeling. There is a feeling in a book when you do it that way.
Yes. Yeah, Amir, that's so brilliant. So well, let's go with this for a second here. So again, there's no such thing as good or bad writing. All that there is, from my perspective, is effective and ineffective writing. So how is that created? So if it's effective, you can systematize it. Good and bad is lazy it's shorthand for complexity. You think about it this way. I will probably never buy a fantasy novel in my life. Does that mean it's bad? No, just not my taste. But it's effective writing for the people that love it. Then we could get really into the details of why it's effective. Then you can reproduce it. So what Amir is talking about is one of the qualities that makes effective writing. He's talking about orientation. What's the orientation of the speaking mind of the voice, or the voice in the book, the speaking voice? And so fun is a great way, and connection and heart, those are great, powerful ways to orient your writing voice. It's cool that you've just discovered that, Amir. I think that's brilliant. But on all my writing time, all the techniques that I teach can be boiled back down to that. Let your creativity out through a good orientation, and then edit well, and then test it with people. That's it. That's all of it. And then write your book. That's it. Really, you want to write a book, just write a book. You got to sit down and write it. But those other pieces will help. So the other pieces that make effective writing, I'll give you a couple more, and then we're going to jump back to Amir here. I look at 4 circles, and I think of them as Venn diagram, overlapping circles. And in the center is a really strong book. Circle 1 is like kind of what Amir's saying. What's coming through my heart? What's that I really, really want to say? Amir's book is successful, by the way. And that's rare. Most books sell 250 copies. So he's done something really, and it's because he's tapped into this stuff intuitively. So circle 1 is the purpose, right? What is it that I really want to say? What's coming through me? Second circle is, what does my audience really, really need to hear? What do they really want to hear? What does the world need to hear? What would really help them? If you're writing a nonfiction book that's meant to serve, most likely the question is, what problem do they have that I can help them solve? If you're in a world of problem and solution. By the way, this is a bit of what I've been doing with Keith and Valda. I know you guys are at 3 Principles folks. So I've been consulting with Keith and Valda now on and off for some time on a book. This stuff doesn't always like click in perfectly to 3 Principles thinking. So I know there might be a bit clunkiness there. But we've been working, and they've been coaching me through this as well. But you want to think a little bit about what the reader's taking away from the book. Either way, whether it's problem solution or not, you want to think about what the reader wants from the book. So those 2 overlap. And then the third one is like genre. What style is this book? Is it a how-to? Is it a prescription? Is it a series of meditations? Is it a reflection? Is it a personal story? Is it a diatribe, like an angry, aggressive diatribe? Is it a criticism? Is it a series of insights? Genre. So you got what I need to say, what's coming through me, the audience, and the genre. And the last piece that I add in is, how does this help me grow my business? Because all the authors I work with are trying to grow businesses. Some of them have grown strong multi-7-figure or 8-figure businesses with their books. Some have sold like, $50,000, $20 books in a year, which is just about $1 million. So they ask these types of questions to help it flesh that out. Okay. How's that? Is that useful for people? Yeah, getting lots of thumbs up. Good. And Amir seemed to just tap into that. I love it. So you can do a little thumbs up on, Dominic's got this cool feature. There's like, you can do a little thumbs up. He doesn't even need to raise his hand.
Oh, geez.
The internet is so brilliant.
He's lazy.
Shannon's got it too.
Oh, there you go.
A bunch of you guys. Oh, now they're issuing it. I don't want to start that trend. All right. So,
I have a quick
Amir,
question.
I'm going to throw it back to you.
Quick question. Lynn is asking, can microbooks work for both fiction and nonfiction? There's
a whole genre called microfiction. I don't teach microfiction. I can't help you with that too much. My real expertise is in nonfiction. I've just been working with so many people on that for so long. But yes, there's a whole genre called microfiction.
Cool.
Any other questions right now? Oh, by the way, we should move.
Oh yeah, let's move.
Let's just stretch. You can even just sit in your chair, but just stretch or get up. I usually do burpees, but some people dance. I have like this weird pain in my chest, so I'm trying not to move too much. All right. Okay. All right, Amir, any other questions there before I jump into some exercises?
Yeah, one quick question is, what if you've never written a book before though? Do you have to do you have to have some sort of experience? I mean, or do you have to be seasoned, or what's your opinion from what you've done enough of these?
No way. No. I've worked with so many first-time authors. I've worked with established authors who've sold million-plus books too. And by the way, some of their books fail as well. But you can be anybody. Like I said, there's no such thing as good or bad writing. It's effective or ineffective writing.
Cool.
In fact, here's something for you. Every single person that's ever written a book, no matter how big, at one point had never written a book. Somebody that a lot of us know and love, Steve Chandler, started writing books, and I think at 40. That dude has sold tons of books. Do you guys know Steve Chandler? Steve Chandler big in Three Principles World too? He's coaching world.
Coaching, yeah.
Anyways, he's a mentor
of
of
people
mine.
Here. Yeah.
I published a piece of his, but you can start at any time. Okay. Any other questions?
We have a couple. Is the structure different in fiction and nonfiction books?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one takes a story arc and another can depend very much more. So one takes the arc of a story, right? The fiction is going to be in a story arc, and nonfiction is going to have its own kind of it just depends on the audience in the nonfiction. What's the purpose of the book? Who's the audience? What do they want to hear? How will it help grow your business? Yeah, so fiction book is, I mean, it's just a narrative, right? Unless you're writing avant-garde fiction, which will maybe have no narrative. But I don't recommend that if you want to sell books. But if you want to create art, which is what I did, I think you can go for it. Okay. Anything else? I'm going to give you guys some exercise.
Let's go with an exercise. There is okay. When you
there's a bunch in the chat here as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat.
That's where you're reading them from.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you talk about testing, is it sharing it in advance to a simple group or to a sample group?
So I can't go into full testing here, but I have when I teach these MicroBook courses, I've got a very involved process for testing a book. It can be a bit uncomfortable for people, but if you really want to engineer a product, you test it. And Ryan Holiday, speaking of which, he has a whole book called Growth Hacker Marketing, or something like that. His whole thing is test as you market. Use your marketing as an opportunity to test. Don't build the product and then bring it to market. My thing is do a book that way. If you're open to feedback from that second circle, now you just might want to write a book to fulfill something in your heart, then it doesn't matter, but just know it may not sell. But if you want to test it and really see if it'll sell, then work with that second circle. Make sense? All right. Yeah, so some people say that MicroBook is like a free product online. I think of a MicroBook as not an ebook. I think of it as a discrete genre that's more powerful and impactful and strong. An ebook feels a bit cheap, right? You're like, this is some opt-in, it's their ebook, blah, blah, blah. I think of a MicroBook as something different, more concerted.
And real quick before getting to the exercise, do you guys know of a movie called Brokeback Mountain? Do you guys remember that movie? It was a book, and do you know how big that book was? It's 58 pages. Look it up.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
58-page book that turned into a motion picture, one of the best-selling books.
Yeah.
And a best-selling motion picture. Just for those, just a heads up.
Wow, cool. Yeah, I mean, the market's there for this. There's no question. Just think of your own buying habits, right? If I could get a cool book that would be short and impactful, I would buy, you know? Okay, great. All right, exercise time. You guys ready? All right, get out the weights. Here we go. So I want to do a little bit of motivation. So the motivation equation, as I said to you, what makes strong motivation? High expectancy that you can do it, high value, low impulsivity, meaning you can stay the course, low delay, meaning you'll get the value soon. There's actually an equation for this. It's not just that, it's the two things, they're divided by, I should have just gotten you guys an image of it, but anyways, you don't need to know it all. But they say it's expectancy times value divided by delay times impulsivity. This is really fancy. Some people maybe know it. It's too smart for me. But let's play with it anyways. So what are the values of your book to you? Let's do an exercise. So get out a notepad. Oh, by the way, one of the things I'm always doing with people is I'm helping to instill writing habits. So we're going to do a bit of breathing. Amir, are you guys okay with that? There's a certain breathing pattern that helps with this thing called, it helps regulate your nervous system. It also helps with this thing called attention residue. Attention residue is all this other stuff from your day spilling over into your current activity. We're going to breathe 6 seconds in, 2 seconds hold, 8 seconds out. We'll do it twice. All right. And then we're going to do some writing. I like to set the writing space this way. All right. You can sit up straight, close your eyes, whatever you want. It's not even, it can be spiritual. It doesn't need to be spiritual. It's just a great, useful tool. So breathe in for 6 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 8. All right. Go ahead. All right. The other thing to do before you write, eliminate distractions. You know why? Because they screw with your impulsivity. So if you can turn off your phone, I mean, actually turn it off. Don't put it in airplane mode. Don't silence it. Turn it off and hide it. Don't have it touching your body. Don't have it visible. Go bury it in the backyard. Take a minute if you need to. Those things are so programmed to distract you. They're built by genius engineers, lots of them. There's about 1,000 engineers behind that screen figuring out how to hack your brain. So get the phone out of here. Email, minimize it. Facebook, get it out. Set the space for writing. All right, guys? You can take this with you, by the way. This is writing habit formation. Here we go. I'm going to do timed writing with you. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Actually, we're going to do laser fast. I like to start small and then move up. So I'm going to give you a minute to write on this prompt. What's the personal value to me to completing a book? All right? Not me as in Ben, me as in you. So what's the personal value to you in writing this book or writing a book? Got it, guys? Okay, here we go. 1 minute. Okay, stop. Did you guys feel like you wanted to keep going? Good. You're increasing your motivation. Every moment you spend on that, it's more likely that you'll finish your book. Pretty cool. Next piece. What's the value to my readers? What impact might it have in their lives? How might their lives look? How might the lives of their partners look? Whatever you think. Sound good? Okay, go ahead. you can't think about it exactly, just imagine what it might be like for them. We'll take another 30 seconds. I know 3Ps people are good people, so you probably want to spend a lot of time in thinking about the impact. All right, let's stop there. Next piece of value, again, just to reiterate, we're creating motivation. We're literally engineering motivation. What could potentially be the benefit financially? That might not be a fun one for people. We'll do 45 seconds. Might be fun. A lot of my clients love that. They want to grow. They want to have more money so that they can have more impact. Makes a lot of sense to me. 45 seconds, go. All right, finish that up. Okay. So there's a couple other things. All right, anyways, that's to help you with motivation. That's to help you with the value, right? There's well, let me ask, actually, do you guys want more questions, Amir? Because I've got more exercises, buddy. How do you want to structure this? Because I've got a whole set of exercises. Yeah.
I think this is an incredibly valuable thing.
Good.
I'm good with this. I mean, this is a good start for anyone here that's considering writing a book. So let's keep going.
And even if you are writing a book already, or even if you have written a book, all this will help with the next one. So, okay. So a couple more exercises. So that's motivation, right? We could spend a long time doing that. And in fact, if you want to take on a writing habit, schedule it every day at the same time. This is what the science says. Minimize any distractions. Make it very obvious that the habit's there. Set up a trigger, which means something precedes it. I wake up, have coffee, write. Kids go to bed. I say hi to my spouse, I write. Whatever it is, like set up a sequence. And then take these prompts and write inside of these to get yourself started. And only do it for 5 minutes. And here's where it's going to come full circle. Celebrate. Celebrate that you just wrote. It wires up that behavior. So we're going to celebrate right now that you guys just wrote. You can do the sign language applause, but celebrate. You can imagine yourself in a parade. I don't know, whatever you do to celebrate. You can dance a little, but if you do this, it'll actually wire up the behavior. You can push the clap emoji if that's how you celebrate, whatever you got. Okay. So that's motivation. That's a little bit on writing habit. Let's go into topic. This will help with expectancy. It also just help you with your topic. If you already have a topic and you're half in your book, it doesn't matter. This will help anyways. Writing, one of my mentors used to say, writing is exploration. You'll know more about a topic by the time you finish writing about it. So people always have this idea of, I got to be a master and then write it. Actually, if you want to be a master, go write about it. So here we go. So if you have a topic already, this will still help. And if you don't have a topic, this will definitely help. We're going to work inside those 2 first circles. So what's coming through me? What is it that I really want to say? That's circle 1. All right. Spend a minute on that? Actually, let's do another 30 seconds. What's coming through me? What is it that I really want to say? Okay. All right. Let's move to the next circle. What might my audience really need to hear or want to hear? Now, when I do this audience circle with people, I really dive in. If you're thinking about it like a product or a business, this is a place where you want to spend a lot of time. So, what does my audience need to hear or want to hear? All right. Or maybe it's just, who is my audience? That you might start with that. Demographics, details, their problems, solutions. All right, I'll give you a minute and a half. Just explore your audience, who they are, what they need, what they want. All right. Okay. So we could obviously keep going. I teach a whole course on this, so we could do a lot more on this. But you have a bunch of material you can continue to work with. So, Amir, is there anything you want to create in the end here? Do you want to talk about the MicroBook course? Do you want to talk about
Yeah, I do.
any other questions or?
Yeah, I'll leave that to you. I mean, I want to see if there's any questions from the group. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, there's too much to cover in an hour, so we'll discuss how
Yeah, of course.
we can do this obviously further. But no. Well, Shannon wrote to me, "Who is my audience? Question is the hardest. Do you have any tips on how to figure that out? How do you figure out who my audience is?"
Yes, it's a good question. I mean, it just takes time and reflection. You got to like kind of investigate, like, who is it that I really want to serve and how and why. And yeah, you can think about it from a business point. You can think there's a ton of ways to access it. I can't really fully go into all the details about it here, but yeah.
and just for those that are wondering too, lessons from my coach, I wrote it for me. It was for me
Yeah.
to, and that's, it sounds
Yeah.
strange to say because
No,
now
no,
that, I don't know if that's a good answer, but for
it is.
okay, because why I'm saying that is because I never wanted to forget what the lessons were that I got with my coach, Rich Litvin. I spent some time with him, and it was so impactful. This was my diary. You guys are literally reading my diary.
Yeah.
And it turned out that other people, it was impactful for them too, because I really bared my soul in this book. And it was, I didn't even know if I was ever going to publish it, but the point,
Yeah.
thank you, Anita. But the point of it was that when you're when you're looking for who this is writing for, like it needs to be someone that you can feel like, not just, oh, I'm writing for Bob. Like, in my opinion, right? Is there truth to that? Or maybe I'm wrong, but someone that really,
Yeah, I don't, I think the more specific you can get, the better. That's all the kind of writing theory and product building theory that's out there. The more you can get specific, the better. And also it helps with, what you said is great. I will often work with my clients and say, you're the avatar for your audience. A version of you maybe 5 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago is the avatar for your audience. Yeah. Yeah. So I wrote for people like me. Penny is saying, yeah, exactly. And the more you get into demographics and specifics, the better it is as a product, and it'll be easier to test it. But anyways, yeah. Yeah. So we got a hand from Dan. Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, I have kind of two questions. I think maybe they're interrelated, but the first is, so I've started writing a blog, and part of the intention was like, oh, I'll put stuff out that might be kind of towards a book, but I find that sometimes I'm flowing when I'm writing, but a lot of times I'll get into kind of like editing as I'm going.
Yeah.
In my head, and then it's like the whole process, So
yeah.
do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly. So there's two major energies in writing. There's the creative outbursting energy, and then there's the like careful editorial energy. You want to be able to have both. And they're both very, very useful. So, but you don't necessarily want them going both at the same time. One is like, it's like driving with the emergency brake on if you're trying to do both.
Do you have any suggestions around that?
Yeah. Every time the credit comes up, the editorial guy, just say thank you and I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Automatic writing, trying to write faster, but just having an internal relationship with that critic is probably one of the most valuable tools you can have. So,
yeah. And then the other question was kind of around self-doubt, which is like, we were going through writing these cues, and it's like, what's the value of my business? I'm looking at these, and they all look so valuable. Well, yeah, well, of course I'm going to be motivated if I can give people greater purpose and meaning and less stress and all these things. But then there's this self-doubt that's like, well, is my book really going to do that?
Do you guys see in the motivation equation, low expectancy, lower motivation? So you're like, I see all this value. I don't think I can do it. Boom, motivation drops. So, I mean, how to do it? I mean, I've got a workshop that you can come and join if you want to be part of that. Is this a good time to talk about that?
I was just going to say, we're literally running this. This isn't going to be covered in an hour. That's why I wanted to see, you are doing a micro book workshop. And so can you talk about it?
Do you mind? Yeah. It's starting July 11th. It's 5 weeks. First is a weekend on Saturday, 2 hours, Sunday, a couple hours. And then once a week we will meet, and I'm going to basically walk people through the entire thing. So let me just get my notes here so I can speak to you exactly. So yeah, 5 weeks. I'm going to teach you guys how to write, or teach people in it. This last one, we just had 60 people. I think this one we're going to shoot for smaller, so it's more interaction and high touch. We're going to teach people how to like write their books in this short period of time. We're going to teach people how to stay motivated, teach people writing habits. We're going to teach people how to create amazing, awesome topics, how to write strong, effective writing, about publishing and marketing books, We can't publish your book, obviously, in this course, but we will talk about all that stuff. You'll become a stronger writer, all these details like that. We'll have some live writing calls throughout the weeks where you actually write live. So something my students love, so that you like work your habits in, you've got space to do it live. Yeah, so that's a bit about the course. We've got, do you want to hear about pricing, all this stuff? I'm not sure how this works here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. And so, for those that, just so you know, I will put the link on this. Will be up on YouTube. Yeah. And for the people that were not on this call, you're listening to the recording, pull to the side if you're listening to your car and do those exercises too. Honestly, it's a foundational thing. Don't just listen to it in the car while you're driving around somewhere. Pull over. Yeah. You don't have to worry about just, you can always rewind it. But yeah, I tell them what the cost is and what it is and all that. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, good. So we've got, so it's $297 for one person. If you bring two people, you each get a discount. If you bring one other person, you each get a discount. If you bring two other people, you get a discount. We're calling it the MicroBook Movement Workshop because it's grown by word of mouth. It's primarily for nonfiction books, like the people writing nonfiction books that are maybe associated to some kind of business result are often going to be get the most out of the course. But we do have fiction writers, we have poets, we have people writing cookbooks. We got all kinds of folks. So but join in if you're interested. Yeah, $297. I'll send up the link there. If you bring other people, try to bring them from outside the group here. We like that. We like it to grow that way. So, instead of just bringing folks from inside the Amir's group, maybe find some people in your life that you would want to do this with. We also find people get more done with groups. People who come in as individuals often will join a group or create a group inside the workshop. But yeah. And nonfiction people are asking. So it's mostly nonfiction people. And in particular, we'll talk about beta testing, how to use interviewing to really grow the book and all this good stuff. I've got all the details. Yeah. Should I throw the link in there? Or do you have the link in that email right there, Amir? We could throw it in.
Yeah, I have the link. And I'll put it in because this one, even if I put it in here, it's...
it'll go away, right?
Yeah. So this is getting posted right after we're done. And I'll put it up. They'll get it right away, and I'll send an in the email too. But one quick thing, if I can say something real quick. Ben, you guys don't know this. Ben emailed me privately and said, "Look, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of turmoil. Should we postpone this?" And my response is, "This is the best time for us to have this webinar and this conversation. People need change. This is the time for us to speak our truth, speak our word." And why I'm saying this is when I was in the lowest point of my life, it was Steve Chandler's book that changed my view. I thank God he didn't say before he wrote his book, maybe this is not the right time to write this book, right? The right time is now. That's the thing. There's no such thing as the best time when things change and all that stuff. And now is the time. I mean, I'll tell you right now, there's Zainab, who is an incredibly gifted writer. I didn't know this. She was on our last call. We had this thing happen between us that was, at first we thought it was funny and all that, but when she wrote, it literally put me to tears. That book needs to be out there. Her gifts. Azul, another one in here, that actually translated my book. She came and reached out to me and translated my book from English to Spanish, my What the F Are the Three Principles. The stuff that she added to the book, she has this gift that she can, that makes a book even better. She needs to be writing a book now. And I'll tell you right now, I wish I had Ben 5 years ago when I wrote my books. I wish I did. I wish I had him last month. And there is a process to this that I fumbled around with. And instead of fumbling around with it, you will actually be able to hone in to write the book you want to write instead of fumbling around and kind of getting there at some point. This is if I can speak, real right now, this is the fastest and best way not to just get a book out, because I don't want this to be, you can get a book out in 5 weeks. If that's what you think this is, don't join his thing. But if you want to bring a book out that's been yearned to be, that needs to be out, that needs to be heard, then do his program. like that's all I have to say. So.
Awesome. Powerful stuff, man. Yeah. Part of Amir and I's decision, like you said, to do this was like, there's a ton going on in the world, but it's also like people that are writing inside of principles or in these areas are people that probably have a message of hope. And I think, this is a good time to get that kind of material out in the world. So we are moving ahead with the course and with the event and everything. So yeah, anyways, somebody said, is it about autobiography? Sure. Bring in an autobiography. I won't go into tremendous depth with like story arc and narrative structure and all that. But there's a lot of people writing autobiographies. I had a woman write in the first course I taught. She wrote her autobiography in a few weeks, and she had been trying to write it for like 20 years. So yeah, her memoir she finished. Yeah. So, right. Details. Yep. We start July 11th. It's going to be amazing. We're going to do a little weekend intensive, 2 hours on a Saturday, an hour or two on a Sunday, and then 1 hour in a week, little micro lessons on Mondays, question and answers, and then live writing times throughout the weeks, all about how to have a deeply impactful, powerful, life, like affirming, world-changing book.
One last question for me.
Yeah. Well, somebody says, will I access clarity in the course? Yeah. The whole first weekend, we're going to talk about topic. So even if you have a topic, we're going to dive deeper into that. If you don't know who your audience is, if you don't know what your book is, that's where we're going to start with everybody. How do you get a really amazing topic? And if you have a book, how do you make sure it's a really, really strong topic?
Another thing is, what if people can't make it live? Is that going to be an issue?
No. Great. That's a really good question. I forgot to address that. All the calls are recorded. And actually, I'd say about a third of our participants just listen to the recorded calls. So it absolutely will work that way. Yeah.
And you can still do the, like when you do the writing circles, it'll be recorded. So you literally block out time and do the writing circles, right? From the
the writing circles yes, exactly. You just listen to it like you were there, and it'll be Zoom recording, so you can watch the video. And if you want to come live, then come live. If you want to listen to it on your own time, listen to it on your own time. But yeah, absolutely. It's there to encourage people so they actually get their book done. What we're trying to do is impossible. I can't make you write a book, but I want to give you everything I can to help you get there as successfully and as powerfully as possible. Like I said, the world's next great books are out there. My job is to help get those out of people as a publisher, and also as this guy who's worked with authors as a kind of coach and consultant. So this course is like, it's hard to get people to write their books. I've been doing it for years. I throw them over my shoulder and I'm carrying them up the mountain. This is the best way I can figure out how to do it right now, is create these circles and all this other stuff. So, if you want to be a part of that, whether you have an idea, a vague draft, an outline, a full final draft, this is going to be useful. Anyways.
Awesome. We're literally out of time. Anita has a quick question. She has no idea what to write about. I just don't know what to write about. Will there be clarity in the course? Do you talk about that too?
Exactly. The first weekend, we'll talk a lot about topic and audience and all that. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Cool.
And also, by the way, I was going to say, even if you don't write your book today, you're going to have the recordings. Let's say, like, look, I'm quarantined. I'm stuck with my kid. My dog, not stuck. I love her. I get to hang out with her more. I should say that, not stuck with her. But the point is, like, I love that you're recording this. And I always ask people that are in my groups that have programs, I want to have access to a couple of the things. I don't want to just say, oh, it's a great program. And I got access to a few of the things that he sent me. You guys, it's top notch. And I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart, because I do value my group, and you guys see how many things I normally, share with you guys, and it's very minimal. And Ben's one of my guys, and I have to say,
that's awesome.
His stuff is rad. So
thanks, man.
And on that note, I want to respect everybody's time. It's 12 o'clock. This was an amazing hour. Go back, check out your notes of what you wrote. Check out the exercises. Go back and really hone in on it until the program starts, and maybe do the exercises a few more times, even if you want to.
Well, yeah. If you guys sign up, we'll do I should have said this before. We'll do a bonus call. So it's like your course has already started.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah. We'll do a call in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Then I will say goodbye to everyone. Love everyone that joined us. Thank you so much. And Zainab, Dan, Shannon, everybody that joined, Steve. I don't want to go through the whole list, but I love you guys all. And
so good to see you guys.
Thank you, brother, for your help, man. And thank you for
of course. Oh, it was amazing. You guys are great. Amir,
Cool,
I'll
man.
call you on the other line for a second.
Okay, sounds good. Take care, brother.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye. I'll wait till people trickle out.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Take care, you guys. Yeah, that did go by super fast. That is true. It
yeah,
does
it
go
was
by
so
fast.
quick. Yeah, I sort of lost the track there at the end.
Take care.
Bye, guys.